Well, here we are, Thoughts from the Office, Redneck's Pride Outdoors. I'm going to do a short little video on the collarum trap. We catch a lot of foxes and coyotes in the collarum, and even though we are pretty successful now, when we first started using them years ago, it wasn't that case. So we had a lot of misses. We had a lot of things happen that I was honestly thinking this trap is junk. All right, and if it wasn't for the cost of the trap, I would have just tossed it to the side. All right. But with New Jersey being a cable restraint state only for fox and coyote, we do not have the luxury of a foot trap. So when I would get these calls, mainly for foxes, a lot of fox calls from a wildlife control business, ACP Wildlife Control, and quite a few coyote traps, the only tool I had was this collarum, and I had to make her happen somehow. All right, no matter what my personal first time thoughts was, I had to make it happen, and I started making it work pretty good to where I was not missing as much, and which opened up my sights just a little bit on it, and I started to realize that, you know what, this may have potential, not only for the wildlife control industry, which is what it was made for, I believe, but also for fur trapping in the state of New Jersey, especially on the coyotes, because we all know what the coyotes do. They come into a wide open cut bean field or a wide open cut corn field or a wide open hay field, and what do? They run right straight down that edge, that wide open edge. So I had to figure out how to make this thing work, and we've got to the point now to where we're decent with it. Okay. Now, yesterday and today, I caught back-to-back foxes on with the collarum on fox jobs that was coming in and agitating and tormenting the people in a yard. And the yard was fenced in, so it was a perfect scenario for me to use the collarum on these fox jobs. But one of the biggest problems with the collarum is the miss, and that for years boggled me, and I needed to figure out how and why I was missing. One of the major issues is that you need that critter to come straight in. You need that coyote and that fox to come straight in. All right. Now, he doesn't have to be perfect straight in, but you need him as straight as you can possibly get. Because sometimes what will happen is, especially with foxes, not so much with coyotes. For me, I find it's easier to guide that coyote straight in just because of his behavior or her behavior. Coyotes, they always want to be able to get the heck out of there. All right. So before they ever commit, and I've seen this on my videos that I have on the collarums, that a coyote, when he comes in, he doesn't just come right in and grab it. You know, contrary to what, you know, everybody thinks and everybody wants to think, they don't just come right in and grab that trigger and yank it and pull it. Matter of fact, a coyote in a brand new situation, I have seen, can take up to 5 to 7 days in the right scenario to commit, even though he's standing a foot from it, 2 foot from it. The coyote will come in, and again, I don't have video of coyotes anywhere else but other than New Jersey, but I have the videos of coyotes in New Jersey, both suburban, urban, meaning in around people, and out in the back 40. And they all have the same tendency. They come in and they pace back and forth out in front of the set, okay? And then they position themselves directly in front of the set. Their head is right in front of the set to where they can really look at this thing. And with coyotes, I found for me, I don't have to guide as hard. Coyotes tend to, I mean, it's easier for me to guide that coyote in front of that trap and to come straight in by subtle stuff, where the fox, they can be a pain. And I find that I've got to guide heavy with a fox, because foxes are notorious for sneaking in on the side, sneaking in on the back, coming in and trying to wiggle their way in, so when they snatch and grab, their body is actually parallel to where it needs to be. I mean, it's on a 45-degree angle, and you got to really block them hard to get them to come straight in. Now, blocking hard, I'm not talking about brick walls. You understand what I'm saying here. Come on now. You know, and I got a couple of videos or a couple of pictures or videos or whatever. I made some, and you can see how I block it. But I'm going to block harder for foxes. But what I find is when I block harder for fox, okay, the coyote shies off of it a little bit longer. It takes them longer to commit to a hard blocking, where I can get him to come in 3 to 7 days on a slate blocking. Now, there's little tricks that I've learned on both of them on how to reduce that number down, but the reality factor is, best scenario for me on coyotes is 3 days. I've had a couple first night things, but that was where I was pre-baiting and really rigging up for it. But coming in, putting in a set, minimal blocking, the best is 3 days for an average. Most time it's going to be 7+. And I'll have them there. I'll have coyotes, whether it's the same coyote or not, I don't know, but I'll have coyotes there on the camera, you know, 3-4 days in a row, just standing 1-2 feet back. Actually, where they stand is just back past, just outside the blocking. Now again, this is mine situations. You may have different situations. Out west, it may be a total different ball game. In the city, where the coyotes are used to really confined areas, it may be a different scenario. But in my scenario, And I'll say this. I find that coyotes in a developed area where they're used to people, they're used to confined situations, somewhat confined, that they accept the situation of the set faster than if I was in the back 40 in a 200-acre bean field. All right, so and that's where I've learned to. There's some things that I can do to increase that attractiveness, to increase the acceptability, is what you would call, and get them in there. Okay, so what we're talking about is, with fox, I'm going to block a lot more because I need him straight in. Because if you don't block and get him straight in, you're going to have a lot of misses. If that cable, if he's standing sideways to that trap, to that set, and he's biting the trigger, and now I tend to like the tube better than the T. But if I don't have the tube, I'm going to use a T, and there are times that I do use the T. I like the tube better because I can hide it easier. And I honestly believe that is one of those conditions of it can smell it, but it can't see it, which creates a curiosity and a better desire, if you will. And so I like the tube better on foxes and coyotes. But the problem with the tube is, especially with the tube, is if that fox can get in there right next to that trap sideways, left or body going left or body going right, that when he pulls on it, that cable is coming up and hitting him in this neck and snout. Because as the cable's coming up, he's right over the trap actually, and it's hitting him here, and it looks like the jaw is coming up with the cable, and the throw arm is actually hitting the fox with the cable, which you know what that means. That fox is jumping out sideways, and you get the miss. All right. I don't find the coyotes coming in on those sides as square as a fox will. And gray foxes, them little son of a guns, they come in from the back and yank up on it, so that cable's coming up underneath their belly, and it's a woohoo type situation, So gray foxes, you got to really block them son of a guns. And gray foxes, I find, you don't have a high spot behind it. Do not have a high spot behind that collar. Now, I'm just going through some things, and hopefully I'm keeping your interest if you're a collarm user. If you're not a collarm user, then I'm not keeping your interest. On coyotes, something high in the back, I'm really believing now where I used to believe, I used to look for, I used to want to find a rise, if you would. I find that anything higher than 6-8 inches, 10 inches at the most, is a negative for the coyote. I used to butt up against trees because it was easy to get that angle that I wanted. And plus it was, you could find root systems, and it was just a natural, great straight in natural blocking to bring them straight in. But what I found with the coyotes on the trees, on these big old trees and what have you, is they shied off of them for longer periods of time. 2-3 weeks sometimes. Foxes, it doesn't matter. I like that for foxes. I actually like it for foxes. I just got to block the sides hard at that point. But for coyotes, that big old heavy tree, or a big old mound, say you've got a hill, it's a perfect angle to put your dog proof or your collarum on. When you do that, if they can't see over that hill, it appears that if they can't see over that hill, or over that rise, or over that backer, it appears that the coyotes back off of it, and they will circle a lot more. You'll see them where they're circling it a lot more. All right, so just throwing some things out there, because I'm throwing things out there that a lot of folks have been talking to me about here lately, and complaining about the misses they're getting, and as I'm talking to them, I can see exactly what they're doing wrong. Mark, this one's for you. When folks, when you put these loops in there, okay, you want that whole loop inside that jaw, even at the bottom. All right, you want that inside the jaw at the bottom. You don't want that sitting on top of the throw arms, is what I'm calling the jaw. You don't want that to happen. You want that loop up inside the throw arms. And for me, for fox coyote, on a angle something like that, I'm going to go 6 to 7 inches. Sometimes if I know I'm only going after coyote, then I'll go 8 inches on that angle right there. If I'm on this angle here, I tend to go 7 inches or bigger with above the trigger, the top of the loop. And the reason I do that is this: I don't have to worry about the whip. So I know I've got ample, for coyote we're talking about, I got ample loop above its head to come over it on a harder angle. I don't have to worry about the whip. On a lesser angle, if I go 8 inches and that's coming up, sometimes that whip, and the whip is going to be your throw arms, your cable, that cable's going to do this as it's coming up. Now, I exaggerated so you understand what I'm talking about. But even if that is a 1 inch or 2 inch whip, the top of that loop is coming up 1 inch slower than the throw arms, depending on your coyote's position, depending on how that coyote came in, if the coyote is tensed and ready, or if the coyote's laid back and calm. If the coyote is tense and ready, and as soon as he and your trigger is up higher to where he can see it, and he grabs it and starts to pull on it, he's pulling on it with his teeth in the front. He's not taking a mouthful, in other words. He's nipping at it. Okay? And if he's nipping at it, and as he's pulling back, it fires up. Coyotes are extremely fast. And if he drops and backs, there's a good chance you're going to miss him. Now, if he rears back, good chance you're going to miss him too. All right? So, I don't want that whip. on that lesser angle, and I'd rather this lesser angle. The reason I like that lesser angle is because I think they feel more comfortable coming into that thing. Again, I could be wrong. That's just me thinking. So, you know, I've had a lot of folks who buy our Collarum Pro cable restraints. They have requested a video of me setting up the collarum the way I do, and I do it differently than most people. Drew Cowley and Scott, they saw how I do it, and it's different. It's a different setup. It's a different way, and I went to that to get better success rates. Okay. So I'm probably going to do a video, but I don't know if I'm just going to do a video of setting up the collarum on a fox coyote job, or do I want to make a longer video during the trapping season, which probably would give more insight even for the wildlife control, because you could see a lot more variations on what I would be doing. So I don't know. I haven't decided that yet. We'll figure it out. But until then, I'll leave it here. Thoughts from the office. Redneck's Pride Outdoors. I'll catch you later.